Hello, I'm Isaac Keith Martinez, and welcome to Isaac's Haunted Beard. Today I would like to talk to you about Murder, She Wrote. About 2 years ago, I was on Twitter, and it was Christmas, and people were posting pictures of their gifts that they were most excited about receiving. And someone I followed, and actually I wish I could remember who this was because I would love to give you a shout out, but I'm sorry, I don't remember who you were. Received, this person received Murder, She Wrote complete series DVD box set, and they put a picture of it on there, and I don't know what the text was, and I'm like, alright, let's watch some mysteries or whatever. And I, at that point in my life, had never seen Murder, She Wrote. And I was surprised that someone that I followed on Twitter was so excited to get this as a Christmas gift. And I replied to their tweet. I was like, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I think I had asked them in a polite way whether or not this was a joke tweet or something, because I just, up until this point in my life, assumed incorrectly that Murder, She Wrote was a TV show for old people. It's not a very nice thing to say, and I don't like that I thought that. Anyway, I mean, you know, there's certain TV shows that people associate with an older audience and like a senior citizen type of audience. I'm thinking of shows like Matlock. I don't know, that's the first one that comes to mind. Anyway, regardless of whatever other shows are popular with seniors, I just thought that Murder, She Wrote was one of them, and by all means it could be, but that doesn't take away from the possibility that it could in fact be a good show, and that you don't have to be old to watch it. I guess I was just surprised that someone was so excited to receive all these DVDs of a show that I had written off, because I just thought, oh, that's not for me, that wouldn't appeal to me. And I just remember the person sold me on the idea of giving the show a chance. They had explained that it was in fact a good show and that they were sincere about their enthusiasm for the gift. And I was so curious that I was determined to see Murder, She Wrote. Now, I think at that point, if it had been difficult for me to track down Murder, She Wrote, like if it was hard for me to like get my hands on seeing an episode, I wouldn't be sitting here today filming this episode. But as it turns out, it was very easy to see it then as it is to see it now if you have cable. So what I did was I turned on the TV. I went to the TV guide, the guide on the television, and I searched for Murder, She Wrote. There's an option where you can type in the show. It tells you what channels are showing it, if they're showing it. And as it turned out, there were 2 channels, as there are till today, as of this video, which was released in 2019, 2 channels on basic cable that still show Murder, She Wrote. Not only do they still show it, they show it a lot. One of the channels is Hallmark Murders and Mysteries, which I didn't even know that was a channel until I looked for Murder, She Wrote. I just thought there was the Hallmark channel, but they have this whole sister network called Hallmark Murders and Mysteries. They show it every night at in a block of like 4 episodes back to back. And then there's another channel called WGN that shows it at a block in the morning for 3 episodes. And what I do is I don't do this a lot, but I will, no, I take that back. I guess I kind of do this a lot. I will periodically search for Murder, She Wrote and read the synopsises of the episodes, and if they sound interesting to me, I'll record them. So the first time I ever watched it, this was the make or break moment for me. Like, if I end up liking this episode, I'll give a second episode a shot. And I did like it. And one of the things that intrigued me about that first episode was one of the guest stars, which was Richard Beymer. And I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan. And whenever I see someone from Twin Peaks, like Richard Beamer, in another movie or another show, I get excited. Richard Beamer plays Benjamin Horne, and funny enough, since that episode, I've seen him again. So I don't know if he's in more than 2 episodes, but he's in at least 2 episodes. And as it turns out, there's a lot of different familiar faces in various episodes of Murder, She Wrote in supporting roles. Familiar, especially if you're interested in older movies and older TV shows, because it's of a time. And also, although there are young people in it, there's a lot of older people in the show too. So it's not a youth-centric cast. It's more all over the place. If you've never seen it, and I feel like I was the only person left that was late to the game, that everyone has actually seen the show before, but just in case you are that person, it's about a mystery novelist named Jessica Fletcher who lives in a small town in Maine called Cabot Cove, and for some reason, this town, which is depicted as this like sleepy town where nothing happens and everyone's friendly and everyone knows each other and you wave to your neighbor, just a picture-perfect community, a place you could retire and just feel safe, that you could go to sleep at night without locking your doors. This is like the murder capital of the world. It seems as though people die. People don't just die. People straight up get murdered. I don't know, at least once a week, right? Because it's a weekly show. Like every single week someone's getting murdered. This is the most dangerous little town in America. And the sheriff and the police force, I don't want to say that they're incapable of solving these murders, but they're incapable. Jessica Fletcher is friends with the sheriff, and just always somehow ends up finding out about these cases. A lot of times by discovering the body herself, and will help the police solve the murder. And she always does, like there's no episode where the sheriff solves it. Like it's like she should be the sheriff, but she's not. She's just a friendly older woman who writes mystery novels, and she's so smart, and she's so lovely, and she's just so perceptive. Like she picks up on every little thing, that she just figures out who the killer is. Now, not all episodes take place in Cabot Cove. Because she is a famous novelist, she travels a lot. Sometimes she travels to do book signings, or sometimes she may travel because someone wants to do an adaptation of one of her books into a movie. There's an episode where, by the way, I've seen a bunch of episodes since I started 2 years ago. There's one where they're going to adapt her book into a board game. There's one where they're going to adapt her book into like a role-playing video game. There's one where they're going to adapt it into a play. They always find reasons for her to travel. Sometimes she travels just because she's got friends all over. Like she gets invited to a wedding, or she gets invited to this. And every place she goes, someone gets killed. And then she solves the mystery before the episode is over. And like that really trips me out. Like in real life, think about that. Like, break it down. If you ever found a dead body, you would remember, that would haunt you. You would remember that for the rest of your life. So let's take it even further than that. Not only did you find the body, you are directly responsible for solving the mystery of who killed that person. You would remember that for the rest of your life. Okay? Like that never happens to anybody. Like, I'm pretty certain that every single person watching this video can't relate, myself included. That's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to solve a murder mystery. Not only does this happen to Jessica, this happens to Jessica once a week, every week, for years and years and years. Like, some people, even just like going to a funeral, you only see a body like a handful of times in your life. If you go to an open casket funeral, like, this woman sees dead bodies. Like, to her it's so normal, maybe she feels everyone just stumbles upon dead bodies all the time, but she sees them every place she goes. And I honestly, I think she's better than Sherlock Holmes, because think about the realism of that. Like, if you came across a dead body and you tried to help solve the mystery, like, would you succeed? No, you probably wouldn't. You're like, oh, thanks for trying, but we got the experts here. She always solves it. Her success rate is 100%. There's a formula to this show that I've noticed. I mean, I've seen enough episodes where I'm noticing patterns and so forth. So what happens with each episode is either they introduce the body, the person who dies, within the first 10 minutes of the show, or someone dies around the half an hour mark. And when I say these numbers, I mean within the context of like an hour long, like assuming that you're going to watch it with commercials. Because if you fast forwarded them or cut them out, I guess it'd be about 45 minutes, in which case I don't really know. But one way or another, both formulas are cool. When they find the body 10 minutes in, the mystery is really complicated. Like, all these different things lead to other things that lead to figuring out who the killer is, as where the episodes where the body is discovered halfway through the show, usually for that first half an hour they spend more time introducing all the characters, and then it gets wrapped up a little quicker. Both are good. I don't necessarily prefer one or the other, but they're both pretty good. I will say that this show is always filled with red herrings. They always introduce at least two characters that have a motive, that have a solid reason for killing the person who ends up getting killed. That way, you might spend the rest of the episode assuming that's the killer. It isn't. A lot of the times, in traditional, typical Murder, She Wrote fashion, it's the person that you least expect, which is very similar to what Scooby-Doo does. I guess that might be similar to what a lot of mysteries do. They want to do the whole fake out. Anyway, I like this show not only because of the mystery, but because I like Jessica Fletcher. And because, although I enjoy seeing her travel, I especially enjoy the episodes where she's in Cabot Cove, because I do like the idea of the small town mystery, because I like the character, because if you see her travel, you're not going to get to see the sheriff or the doctor or the characters that you know from the town. And, not that this is important, but she dresses differently. When she travels, she's always, like, more fancy, because she has to go to, fancy engagements, as where when she's at home, she's more like sweaters and stuff like this. So she's like, I like the idea of, like, the detective who's just like that little old lady that lives next door. This show started in 1984 and went to 1996. There's 12 seasons of Murder, She Wrote. There's 264 episodes, and then when it finished, they made 4 TV movies. So if you ever choose to get into it, there's a lot to get into. I don't think that it's streaming anywhere. Like, as of right now, it's not currently streaming anywhere, which is a bummer. And I guess if you have the money and you have it and you want to collect the DVDs, which I would love to, but I can't, at least not at the moment. If you have cable, it is comforting to know that it's on TV every day. Like, I'm pretty sure all 7 days of the week you could see Murder, She Wrote. And it might be frustrating for you if you're the kind of person where you need to see something from the beginning, but trust me, I didn't watch it that way, and I really feel like you don't have to. There's not a whole lot of mythology going on. They're all pretty much standalone stories. Earlier this year, last year, 2018, AMC had this show called Eli Roth's History of Horror, and in one of the episodes, Eli Roth was interviewing Rob Zombie, and they were talking about mysteries, like figuring something out, and I think the movie that they were specifically talking about at the time was The Sixth Sense. And Eli Roth had asked Rob Zombie if he had figured out the twist before it ended, and Rob Zombie had said no. The first time he saw it, he didn't see it coming, and then he said something like, "What, are you kidding me? I can't even figure out who the killer is when I watch Murder, She Wrote." And that was the moment, because I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. That was the moment where I was like, yes, I love this show. Rob Zombie loves this show. Not that I needed to feel validated, but I felt validated. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out Murder, She Wrote if you haven't already. It's got my thumbs up seal of approval. Please subscribe to this channel on YouTube if you haven't already, and follow me on Twitter at IsaacSaltedB. Bye-bye.